Buenas tardes, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Better Monday Fasting. In this video, I'll be announcing a good news and talking about residency in Paraguay. Before getting started, anything I share in this video, it's not medical advice. So before making a decision regarding your health, please do your own research and consult a professional. Let's get started with the residency in Paraguay. So today I have a big good news to announce. It's that I got my residency card in Paraguay. I had applied in April of this year, and then for some missing documents, some problems, like it got delayed. Like it almost took me the double amount of time. Usually it's like they give it to you in three months. For me it took like 5.5 but I'm really happy to have it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my life in Latin America and maybe why I decided to get a residency in Paraguay, why it makes sense for me. So my Latin American adventure started in 2017. I moved here from Switzerland, and before that I also lived like 11.5 years in the US. So I lived in San Diego, so I already had a decent level of Spanish. But then after the US, I went like 6 years to Switzerland. I kind of forgot my Spanish. So in 2017, I made it to Buenos Aires, and my plan was to open a coffee shop there and establish myself in Argentina. And I got a residency over there too for 1 year. But that time, like I had it through school. So my plan was to open a coffee shop, and in order to open the coffee shop, I needed residency. And in order to get the residency, I signed up to a university that was teaching, a private university that was teaching gastronomy, and so that worked pretty well for a year. But then the school decided to double the tuition, and it was like all of a sudden, it got really expensive. And also when I had decided to go to that school, I was freshly coming from Switzerland, and the tuition was like about $250 a month. And for a person coming from Switzerland, that's not like, it's still an investment, but it's not like huge amount of money, But then when I started living in Latin America, I realized that that's a lot of money. And then once they doubled, so it was like you went up to $500. So that's pretty much. You can rent a really nice place. Maybe not on Airbnb, but if you're a resident, for example, like if you're in Colombia, you can get like a really, really good renting situation for that much money. So that was kind of like challenging. So like what happened is like I decided to, I give up on the coffee shop project, and so my status went back to tourist. And so in order to stay in Argentina, I started going every 3 months. I will go to Uruguay to like basically a visa run. So I started doing that, and in the meantime, I got a job online as a freelancer. And I bought a backpack to to go back and forth to Uruguay. And before you know it, like I started liking it, I was like, wow, that's like I have a pretty strong romantic side, like I'm a musician, and I started liking that, like going back and forth. And then I was like, well, you know what, like my job is remote, the coffee shop project is history, so I mean, I don't need to stay here, And I was doing a lot of fasting back then, and during one of my fasts, it was like a 10-day fast near the end, I will look, I mean, the city will be very overwhelming. At times, sometimes like when you fast, like things are kind of amplified. You can get overwhelmed, like at times there's like way too much information. And the interesting thing is like everything that is modern like stresses you out, like a car passing like that. But when you're close to nature, it calms you. So that's very interesting. But when you're in the middle of the city, you're not in a park. Like I mean, it can be pretty stressful. If you have a healing crisis, so it can get pretty. Yeah, I can get pretty intense. So my technique was always to look at the sky. In Buenos Aires, you have a beautiful sky, and the sky will calm me. The sky, the clouds moving. But on that end of that long fast, like I had this call, like, I could almost hear like voices, like come here, and I thought I was going to die. Like I thought it was like because when you're fasting that long, you're at a different level mentally. And once I start hearing like those voices and like literally the sky was like, come, it's better here. Like, but then I decided that I wasn't going to die and I shouldn't interpret the message as such. So I decided to interpret the message as, get away from like the big city, get away from the noise, get away from air pollution, noise pollution. So then I decided to become a nomad. And back then even I was just like, I might regret that when I couldn't like renew my residency in Argentina. I was like, you know what, I mean, now it's like a short-term decision because you don't want to pay school and all that, but you might regret it like in the future. Because I was already, I mean, the reason why I left Europe, like I knew I was going south, and that it would be perhaps like it would be a good investment to be in, Latin America. But then I decided to become a nomad, and so the next country I went to was Mexico. I came with my Swiss passport, and they give me straight like 6 months. And then I was like, wow, cool. And then I started traveling. Like I was like, well, I'm going to respect the time they're giving me, and never overstay. And so that started giving a rhythm to my travels, So usually the countries they give like they give you 3 months, and Mexico several times they gave me like 6 months, and once they didn't want to give me 6 months because I had a hat with it said like Sinaloa on it. So I was at the migration in Ciudad de Mexico, and they got really nervous, like with my hat. Like I didn't know that it was because there's a Mexican flag and it said Sinaloa, and it's a black hat, and I didn't know that it was. I later learned that it was like the narcos. They will put that type of hat. So they really interrogate me, like, oh, who do you know in Sinaloa? And also it's kind of weird, you come, you're at the airport with a Swiss passport, you have a Turkish name, you speak fluently Spanish, and you're not going to Cancun, you're going to Sinaloa. And so like they got really nervous, so they start reading all my, very polite, I mean nothing bad happened, but yeah, they were like, can you show us your friends in Sinaloa? The message in my WhatsApp, So I showed, so they read everything, and then they were like, oh, you know what? I'm only giving you a month. You don't have a return ticket, like a plane ticket, and I'm like, man, like I told them, like they always give me 6 months, and I stay pretty much the entire time without overstaying, Like, please give me 6 months, and like we start negotiating, and then he was like, well, I give you 3 months, and he was kind of joking, like he was like, since you seem to know people in Sinaloa, then you go to migration there, and they will probably extend it, So he gave me 3 months. I went to Mazatlan, and yeah, after the 3 months, I took care of it. I mean, I went to migration and everything, and then it was sweet. Like they were like, okay, you're fine. Like we're gonna start. So you have to pay money basically. So I paid some money, and they're like, yeah, we call you. Like we're gonna give you a new one. And I was thinking, like, I already stayed 3 months, and they probably will give me another 3 months, but then the whole procedure took a month. So it was like I was there for 3 months. Then the whole, like them getting the my visa done and everything, it took a month. So it was like 4 months. And then the good news, they give me a fresh new visa for 6 months. So that was the only time I stayed like 10 months straight in Mexico. It was great. Like I went to Monterrey, but it was like Mexico. I think I visited like 5 times, 5 or 6 times, 5 times. Okay. 5 visits to Mexico, and each time like at least 6 months, So I have over 3 years in Mexico. I lived in over 23 cities. So what happened, like after I became nomad, I had this, so in Argentina I had all my heavy stuff, I had my juicer, I had my guitar, electric guitar, I had my bass, so I had all those things. So from 2018 to 2020, what I would do is like I would go for 8 to 9 months. I will go on a tour. I will go to Mexico, to Peru, to Chile, Guatemala, and then I will I will come back to Buenos Aires, get my heavy stuff out of the storage, like build my little studio, record 2-3 songs with the electric guitar, release like singles on Spotify, digital distribution, and put everything back, on into the storage, and then I'll keep touring, And then in the meantime, I bought an acoustic guitar. I mean, that was on the first. The first time I went to Mexico, I was like in Yucatan. Then I went to Oaxaca, and then I was in Querétaro. In Querétaro, I bought like a $100 cheap Chinese guitar. And with that, I started like learning my songs. It was funny, like on Spotify, I was going on my page, listen to my songs to learn them, like to learn your songs. that he wrote like a while back and adapt them to like the acoustic guitar, you know. And then he was like, yeah, I started, I was in Peru, I started playing as a street musician. But that's a whole different topic for video, but I briefly go over it. And then I started playing real shows. It was also in Mexico, but it was like the second time around I came back to Mexico. And I started playing shows. Yeah, so then I think to this day I played like 49 shows or 50 shows total with Black Sea Storm, like solo. When I was in Turkey, like a drummer friend will come with me. So the whole touring thing and the whole nomadic thing, it was great until in 2020 again I went to Buenos Aires. It was during the summer. I love it there. During the summer and spring, summer and fall, it's great. Winter is horrible. So I recorded my songs. You know, I released them. I mean, they were already released, but I scheduled them for release. Put everything back to the storage, and I had to decide, like, I had to pick a day to when to leave. You know, when to leave Buenos Aires. You know, so I went to the website of the ferry that goes from Buenos Aires to Montevideo in Uruguay, and I was like, March, like, what date should I pick? What day? And my ex-bandmate David and one of my best friends, his birthday is March 10th, and we always celebrate his birthday. And when like, for some reason I never forget his birthday, you know. So then I was just like, well, I picked March 10th. I picked March 10th, and randomly. Then I put all my stuff to storage and moved out of the Airbnb where I was in. You know, took my acoustic guitar, my touring, like I was ready for, and my plan was to go to Uruguay, and I even had a ticket to go to Paraguay. And then my goal was I always wanted to do that, like from Argentina to Mexico. Everything that can be done with either like, I mean, there are very dangerous areas, but like either by road or by boat. But for Paraguay, I actually had a plane ticket. So I arrived the 10th of March 2020. I arrived in Montevideo. It was my second time there, and before I will go to another. Forgot the name. For the visa run, there's a place that is very close to Buenos Aires, across the river. So this was I think it was my third time or fourth time total. So I came, and so for 3 days it was okay, but the pandemic thing was like starting out, you know. And 3 days later, I think it was the 13th of March. They closed the borders. They closed the borders, and I got stuck. Like, well, I could have gone back to one of my countries, you know. You know, you could have traveled back. But I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna give up. You know, I'm gonna bite the bullet. I stay here until, because I was so happy to have that. I mean, I had turned my life into a rock and roll tour, because while I was playing in bands in the U.S. and in Switzerland, like the biggest, like the hardest, the most challenging thing was always like to go on tour, you know, because everybody's working, everybody has family, so you have to schedule, you have to decide on dates and where everybody's available, and then you have to hope that nobody gets injured or gets sick or something gets canceled. I mean, it's a miracle when you think like for a band to tour. It's a lot of stars have to align, and I was just like, well, now that I'm playing solo shows, I mean, technically I could play any night, you know. Technically I could play any night, and so I was just like, wow, you know, I broke the code. Like I broke the code of touring, you know. So I had a lifestyle that I was technically always on tour, and if they had called me anywhere, I could go play. So I was really proud that I brought myself to that level. But then I realized that was like the big reality call, slap on my face. It's just that once, well, first of all, like Black Sea Storm is not like the other bands I played in, and it's not like once you make yourself available and now you can tour, you can do all these things. It's not like the entire world was waiting for you, you know. I was like, oh, okay, you're available now, so you play every night. So then, because it was literally it was actually my business plan, you know, because I was just like, even if I can generate like 20, 30 bucks a night with my music, you know, I mean, I could live with that, you know, in Latin America, if I play every night. And then I play during the day, I play on the street, you know, as a street musician. I mean, if you focus only on that, I mean, it's doable. But then it was really hard to get shows. It was really hard, like, to get shows in Latin America, you know, because I sing in Turkish. It's not a full band. I mean, it was a great experience, like in terms of learning. I mean, I realized how spoiled we were, like in the U.S. and Switzerland. You know, you come to the clubs and there's already, like, everything is mic'd up. Like you have mic stands, you have the PA. I mean, I played shows like in Mexico and stuff. Like I have to go get a PA. Another person will, like, lend me a mic stand. Then I bought my mics and stuff, like, but it was just like, and then you play the show and then you have to bring the things back. And once I had the show, I came and they were using the PA for a dance class, so I had to wait. I finished the dance class so they could take the PA. You know, it's like, but you always find solutions. And you always find solutions, and also people are willing to help, even though they don't have much. Like musicians, like people, like everybody is trying to help, you know, like that's beautiful. But it's like I realized how spoiled we were, like Western rock and rollers, you know, like. So yeah, but eventually I got to a rhythm where I'll contact 10, 20, even more people, and I'll be like rejected. But every 10 to 20 calls, I will get one show, you know. So there's always, obviously there's no market for Turkish rock in Mexico or in Peru, but there are people who are interested in music, and there are people who are, I mean, it's interesting, you know. For people, like once I played this show in Oaxaca, and some people came, like there's this guy, like total Mexican looking guy. After the show he comes to me, then we became good friends. Like his name is Luis, and the guy, he starts talking to me in Turkish, like, you know, you get out of the stage, and it was a pretty good show. There was like 100 people at least, and they were really into it, and it was like a restaurant slash, it was a really, really nice place. It was packed, and so I get off stage, and this guy, a Mexican looking guy, that comes to me and starts talking to me like pretty good Turkish, and I'm like, wow. So my first thing, it was because he had a little bit like Asian like features, So I was like, oh, he must be a guy from Uzbekistan or Tajikistan or Turkmenistan. And no, the guy is like, no, I'm from Oaxaca. He was like a Turcophile, I don't know how to call it, like was really into Turkish culture. And he told me, I don't remember, like basically in 18 months he learned Turkish. And so he studied it in Mexico for several months, like 6 months or so, and then he went a year in Turkey or something, like impressive. And then he just speaks, like so yeah, I mean, even though there's no like there's no market, for Turkish rock per se, but like when you advertise it well, you do good marketing, you tell your story. I mean, it's pretty interesting, like to hear Turkish, hear a language, and also like all the like the Turkish TV shows that are famous in Mexico and in Latin America. It helps because a lot of people are watching those, and yeah, it helps. Like it's the first time I start feeling like what's to be a person from the US or person from Italy or France, where when your culture comes before you arrive to a place, like like a person from the US can go anywhere around the world, they're gonna know Michael Jackson, you're gonna know Michael Jordan, you're gonna know, I mean, his culture is, I mean, there's plenty of subjects you can talk about. Same with Italy, like those big nations, and like now with the Turkish TV shows, like that's pretty much what's happening to us. Like once I took a Uber and I was in Merida, and the guy, like when I told him like I was Turkish, he got really excited and stuff, and then he's like, oh, there's something I really want to know because there's this TV show I'm watching, and the lyrics of the, like I want to know the lyrics of the theme song, So he puts the theme song, so I'm translating the lyrics to him, and he starts crying and stuff. Like, I mean, it's like, it was really, I mean, they're following those TV shows like from the heart, It's like, so it's a really good icebreaker, like. It's actually pretty cool. Like I usually, like on the streets, like I say I'm from Turkey more than I say I am from Switzerland. It depends where, but it's more there are kids, so I'm like have to cover the yeah. So it's been it's a good icebreaker, like the whole. And I personally don't. I watch some of them, but I don't watch TV, and they're very addictive, and it's. Yeah, I think it's a bad investment of your time. It's a very bad investment of your time, the Turkish series, but in Latin America it helps. Like it opens your doors. Like people see you, and usually there are not that many Turkish people, so it kind of sets you apart from all the people from the US, from Europe, in a positive way. So after the pandemics, I was blocked like 6 months in Uruguay, and as soon as they opened the borders, like I wanted to go back to touring and the nomadic life, and which I did, but it was very like it got even more difficult to get shows. It got even more. It was already pretty difficult. Then it got even more. People were scared, but I was playing shows. I was just like, I'm not gonna give up. I was traveling, playing shows and all that. And yeah, I kept going like that until 2022. In 2022, I went to Turkey, like for a year. I did a tour there. We played like 21 shows. I saw my team Trabzonspor become champion. I was in the stadium. And when I first was there, I was just like, you know what? Maybe, Turkey can be a good solution for me. Because before I was like, when I lived in Switzerland and in the US, for me it was kind of daunting, like to live in Turkey like full time, because you're used to comfort and all that. But all these years I passed in Latin America, actually it was kind of a training to live in my own country, So then when I went back to Turkey, when I realized like how, like my Latin American experience helped me for sure, but it's just that Turkey is way more advanced than everywhere I've been in Latin America. It's not even, there's not even comparison. Even for certain things, like Turkey might be better than Europe, like infrastructure wise, the airports, like the train station, like the subway, it's clean, there's no graffiti, it's safe, it's But then, while I was in Turkey, I went to Buenos Aires and got all my guitars, all my heavy stuff. I brought them back to Turkey. And so I was just like, maybe it's better to have them, because it was very complicated to pay my storage space in Buenos Aires. In Argentina, they have those like weird stuff, like they don't accept like foreign credit cards, and you cannot wire money, so you have to have your you can only wire from your bank account from there, and if you want to pay in advance, you can only pay up to 6 months, and they charge you in advance. They anticipate inflation, which is totally ridiculous, because they anticipate inflation, but you're paying today, So it was always like, even when I was doing the 8-month touring and stuff, it was always like, I'll pay for 6 months, and then the last months, I'll be emailing them, like begging them to, I'll be back soon, so I always managed like that. And then when I was in Turkey, it was starting being like a problem. So I brought all my stuff back to Europe. So I did the touring and stuff, and then I wanted to, end of November 2022, I wanted to go back to Mexico. I was really missing Mexico. It was just it's a weird thing, you're in your native country, but you miss Mexico. And so I went back to Mexico, and as soon as I arrived, like it really felt like that's really weird. Like that thing I cannot explain. That Mexico, it really feels like home to me. I cannot explain that because there's no reason for that. But even, once I went 3 months to Guatemala, and it was good. Nature is amazing. I had a great time. I met incredible people. But for some reason, I had like low energy in Guatemala. I was like, I would sleep a lot, and like, I don't know, it was. And then I decided to go back to Mexico. I take the plane. The plane landed to Mexico City. I was in the airport, and and I'm already feeling great. I don't know. It's very it's very weird to me. So maybe in another life I was Mexican. I don't know. Like it's a country where the the vibes, the vibrations, like I feel really good. And then in Mexico there are certain places like Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan, like that part of the country. I have lots of musical inspiration. You know, it's really amazing. Like lots of musical inspiration. When I feel it, it's like electrical. Like it's something that I cannot explain, but lots of ideas coming. And also the south, Oaxaca, is very special. And I'm there. I feel very inspired. And yeah, it's so then when in 2022 I came back to Mexico, I was just like, I was like, you know what, I just you know, my future is not in Europe. Like I just had that feeling. I was like, it just feels so much better like in this side of the ocean, because in total, like I lived you know, I lived 11 years in the US. I lived now it's going to be pretty soon 9 years that I'll be living in Latin America, minus the 1 year I lived in Turkey. But so it's yeah, almost 20 years like in the Americas, you know. Almost I passed almost 20 years of my life in the Americas. So, and I always felt better, like the happiness level. Also, when I moved from Switzerland to the US the first time in '99, always felt better on this side of the ocean. So I was just like, yeah, I was pretty clear in my head, like, yeah, my future will be in at least on this side of the ocean, but probably in Latin America. And then yeah, then I start like so I stayed like 10 months in Mexico. That was that time, like that was the time I came from Turkey. Like that time I stayed like 10 months, and then I went to Colombia for the first time. Then I came back to Mexico, and end of 2023, so like a year after being in Latin America, I decided, yeah, I wanna start a business that I can manage online, you know. So gonna start the business and all that, you know, with the paperwork and everything. Like I decided and I needed to establish myself somewhere, you know. So it was kind of for lots of reasons, it was like kind of difficult to be a guy up in the air, and I had lots of but challenges to set up my business and all that, because, you know, once if you're not at everything is based for people that are sedentary, you know. All the entire system is based on so if you're, and then people get you know, when you're trying to, you have certain transactions to do and everything, it looks really, you know, once yeah, I wanted to open a business bank account, and it was like, so my paperwork is Swiss, my name is Turkish, and I was trying to open it, I was in Panama, you know, like when that happened. So they denied, you know. It's like it looks too sketchy, you know. It looks too sketchy. So yeah. So then I decided, yeah, I'm gonna be moving somewhere. get residency back. And also one of the reasons why I wanted to get residency is like, yeah, you know, how the entire world is progressing is like, yeah, like it will be good to have, because I didn't worry too. I mean, I left Europe like in 2017, but I was just like, you know, I have my Swiss passport, I can go anywhere I want, like, you know, but now I want more, like, even though I already have 2 passports, I want like more. I want like a residency in Latin America. So I started like doing it was a project, like I started as a project. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna investigate Panama, Colombia. I wanted Mexico, but Mexico got really complicated. I always wanted to live in Mexico, but Mexico was, yeah, everything is more expensive now. Like, I mean, the country is expensive, also the requirements. You need to have lots of money. I mean, for a person like me, maybe it's not a lot for you, but for a person who has been living in Latin America for the past like 8 to 9 years, it's very expensive. The requirements are difficult. So Mexico, unless I marry like a girlfriend or something, like, or have a kid there, like, yeah, he was kind of, he wasn't going to work out in Mexico. I went to Colombia. I love, like, Colombia was great, but it's, I mean, from what I understand, like, there's a lot of gray lines there, like gray areas. So you could have something that is very tax friendly and all that, but it will never be, I mean, if you follow the rules, it's not very tax friendly. Then the reality is could be different, like that's what I'm hearing, especially in places like Antioquia. They're very business oriented, and yeah, it seemed to work well over there. But then Colombia, it was kind of complicated. I went to Panama, and Panama, in terms of, you know, business creation, taxes, all that, it was good, but you had to open a business there. Even if you didn't have even if it wasn't a physical business, even if you didn't have any employees, you had to have board members, and the whole thing costs you like $10,000, you know. And life is pretty expensive in comparison to other Latin American countries. Panama was a little bit like on the expensive side. And the last on my list was Paraguay. And honestly, I was just like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna like it, because I had already lived in Argentina, I had already lived in Uruguay, and for some reason I was like thinking, it's probably similar. And Uruguay, it really didn't click with me. And but I was like, you know what? I'm doing this project of choosing where I'll be establishing myself. So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the job thoroughly, and you know. So I'm gonna do it till the end, and then make my decision. So I came to Asuncion. I think I had only rented a place for 2 weeks or something. I just wanted to see. But then I came here, and yeah, I started liking the vibe, and people are very nice, and then I started investigating on, the paperwork you need, and what you need, and the cost and all that. Then I was just like, wow, he was the winner, it's just that it was a far better solution for me. Like, it was like the whole process was cheaper. You didn't have to create a company here. The cost of you know, for immigration and all that with the lawyer and like it's just, I mean, it's the 10th of it, you know, of what it would cost you in Panama. And then life here is, it's very, I mean, it's more affordable. I mean, 3 times more affordable than Panama. And also Panama, I didn't like it too much. Like it looked a little superficial to me. You know, even when after Panama I went back to Colombia, I was like, wow, culture, like cultural that. Like Panama, I mean, it's nice, and I can see how you can find happiness there. I mean, you can create, like if you decide to move there, because I was staying at a hostel, like hostel type, because it's really expensive, so I didn't want to rent. It was through Airbnb, but it was a hostel, like with shared space. So I didn't have the whole like rooftop experience, like the more like fancy experience. And I think Panama, it's good for that. Like if you can afford, you know, like I know people that they live in those towers and they have everything in the tower. Like the gym is in the tower, the restaurants, the spa. So they never leave their tower, and you know, they get laundry done there, and like, so, but you need to have I mean, that type of income, you know, to be able to live that type of lifestyle. So Panama, it could be good. Like I shouldn't say, but like from my perspective, with somebody with my budget, it was like it lacked a little bit of culture, to my opinion, like depth in the culture. And maybe also like if you go outside of the city, you go to the islands and all that, maybe you'll find that. So then like in Paraguay, all of a sudden it became my plan A, you know, like I was just like, wow, this place is great. Like, and I was really not expecting, to be that, like, it's like back to the 90s, but in a good way, you know, it's not polarized. It's like, everything is chill. Things are affordable. So, because my plan was to see, like, investigate the 3 countries and then like make up my mind, make a decision, you know. But then once I saw Paraguay, I was like, you know what? So I called the lady who was helping me out. I said, you know what? I wanna start the process, and so I started getting all my paperwork from Switzerland, and I went to the Turkish consulate here to get my birth certificate. Like everything worked out fine. Like and today I got even with delay, I got my residency. So it was very, and you don't need to deposit money, or like, it's very straightforward. It will change probably, because now it's getting popular, you know. Like one of the reasons why there was that much delay is just that foreigners are pouring here now, you know. Like more and more people are, because it's just to me it's just the perfect place, like because it's in the southern hemisphere, you know. It has independency of electricity. It produces, I don't know, like 20 times more than it needs. Food, it produces like 12 times more than it needs. So in uncertain times, that it's a good place to be, you know. And you have all the land that you want. It's very libertarian, you know. Like you can have weapons. You can have access to weapons. I think it's pretty easy. And only 6.5 million people live here, you know? So so it's something to consider. Like, and for tax and business, it's very like business oriented and very tax friendly, you know. I mean, everything you produce in Paraguay is like, if you have a business, local business, you pay 10%. And if you have a business outside of the Paraguay, it's 0% on your income tax. You'll probably pay taxes on your business wherever your business is, but on the profits you're making, if the business is on your, it's like a LLC type of situation. It's free of tax, you know. So it's very, very, very interesting place. At least it's very refreshing, you know. Like when you come from Europe, you come from the US, like all this, like they're killing you with taxes, and you know, like all those ideologies, and lots of women with blue hair and all the other. You don't have all that stuff right here. You know, it's very. You don't have it, but there's no. It's not like that. They're against. Like you could have blue hair if you want. Like they don't. They're just not gonna care. You know. It's so in that sense, it's very. Yeah, it's amazing. It's an amazing place. So like today, I got my residency permit. So I still have. There's still like the process is still going, because then I want something. It's called the cedula. That's very important, and then you know a tax number and all that. Like I still have work to do, but that was the most important step. And also I heard, I don't know if it's an urban legend or it's true, but you know, there's a union, the Mercosur. There's a union between Argentina, Uruguay. I think Venezuela was in it. Who else? I don't know, Peru maybe. But I just heard that Colombia joined. And that will be just, that will be amazing, because it means that with my cedula I could, you know, like, I could go to Colombia without being a tourist, you know. And that will be just great, like to, you know, spend my time between Paraguay, Colombia, and Mexico, and if I have the finances, Turkey to go see Trabzonspor and my family, like, and that'll be great. That'll be a great setup. But I'm gonna look into that. Like if Colombia joined the Mercosur, so then it's really no-brainer. You know, for me, it's. It will even make my decision better. And now it's been, this time I came in July. So July, August, September. So it's been 3 months, over 3 months. And it's been great, like been very productive. I love my lifestyle here. It's not like crazy like in, you know, like it can be in Colombia or in Mexico. Like it's not that colorful lifestyle, but it's just, it feels really good, you know. It feels really good to be here. I like the climate. I mean, they say in the summer it gets really, really hot. And when I was here in March, you know, it's the reverse here. So it was getting into fall and it was really hot. So probably like December, January, November, like it's gonna be insane. But I really like, I mean, because in Argentina and Uruguay, the problem was those 3 months, you know, June, July, August. I mean, I'm from Ankara, which is one of the coldest places in Turkey. It's really cold in the winter. I grew up in Switzerland, which is also like cold and moody, and but like the winters in Uruguay, it's horrible. Like the thermometer will say 5 degrees Celsius, you know, like so it doesn't sound like cold, but with the humidity and the wind, and also the houses, they're not made for that. Like if you don't have a fireplace in Uruguay, I had like this air conditioning that had a heater. It was horrible. Like it's just and that in Paraguay, I mean, winter it's 1 month, it's July, and some days it gets a little cold, but even in July there were some days it will get like 30 degrees Celsius, you know, during the day. But some nights it gets like 1 degree, 2 degrees, like really cold, like almost yeah, almost like European winter. But it's just 1 month that is like that. And also I was told that especially this year it was like extremely cold for them, and it was totally bearable. Like so the weather is at least 6 months out of the year it's really good. Then at probably like 4 to 6 months it's pretty it's gonna get pretty hot. But yeah, so it's been a very long video. I wanted to announce that the news, give a little bit of feedback on my journey in Latin America and what pushed me to get residency and why I choose Paraguay. And yeah, I mean, I think I traveled enough in Latin America to make that decision, and I've seen enough to make a good decision, I think. And I think I made a good one. Time will tell, but I'm very happy to now to be officially a part of this country, you know. So thank you for watching, and I see you in another video, inshallah.